Dan Illman, Mike Beer, Sunday's feature race at Woodbine is the Grade 2 Eclipse. We're going a mile and a 16th on the Tapeta. $175,000 is the purse. Before we head on north to Woodbine to discuss this race, Memorial Day weekend here in the States, which means there's a big Memorial Day sale cooking on DRF.com. Save up to 50% off select handicapping products. DRF.com's Memorial Day sale. Here's the field for the Grade 2 Eclipse. It features one of the most popular horses in Canada, Mike. The 2020 Queen's Plate winner, Mighty Heart, gets back to Woodbine, where he loves the synthetic surface.
He really loves the synthetic surface. He's actually at his absolute best, Dan, on any surface when he's the one who can control the action up front. He might get to do that here. And if he does, he's going to be really, really tough to beat.
Timeform US believes he will be the primary pace protagonist as we take a look at the pace projector. And Mighty Heart is up front over Frosted Over, who was a good 3-year-old last year in Canada, is upwardly mobile and does have tactical speed. I think Special Forces might be a little fresher. I'm not saying he's going to be on the lead. He might be a little closer than last.
Yeah, he might not be last early. We'll see, how close they decide to ride him. The key to the pace probably is the 2 Frosted Over, Dan. He's plenty fast enough to get up there and put pressure on Mighty Heart if they decide to ride him that way.
Let's talk a little bit about the 1 Special Forces. Justin Stein aboard. This horse is going to be making his seasonal debut, 5.5 months off. Well, he came back off about a 2-year layoff last year, and he ran pretty well. It took a Belmont Stakes winner and Sir Winston to beat him. Didn't fire last time out in the valedictory. They stretched him all the way out that day. His prior efforts were rock solid. If you give him some pace, he's going to come with a run. I think the price will be fair, and I'm thinking he's going to be ready off the layoff.
Yeah, I think he will probably be too. And he is good enough to win this race if he shows up and fires his best shot. Dan, if he can get any kind of a trip in this race, I'm a little concerned that since that really long layoff, and obviously something happened to this horse after the autumn at the end of 2019, he came back last year and he was fine. And he did win the Durham Cup, the Group 3 there. But I don't think he was best even in winning that day. And his races surrounding that sort of make me feel like he's lost a step.
Frosted Over won the Ontario Derby last year at Woodbine at 3, and then I thought he ran just fine in the Grade 3 valedictory for Mark Casse, going 1.5 miles. He had to get into that race early. Sir Winston, who of course loves 1.5 miles, made a 4-wide move at about the 7/16. That made Frosted Over and Kimura get into the race. They battled it out very gamely. It was a good second, and guess what? He had a similar trip last time at Gulfstream. They turned him back to 1 mile and 70 yards, and he had to get into it with a 3-wide sweep on the turn when the horse to the outside loomed up early. And he gets a little bit tired at the end of this race to run third. I thought all in all, it was a useful performance.
I did too. I mean, this pace was pretty fast. It's not a huge excuse for Frosted Over because the horse that wins the race was also part of that pace. But it's still, a race that maybe wasn't run to really suit him. The 1.5 mile race 2 back, he ran fine in there, but I don't really care about that race. He's just, to me, the toughest call about him, especially at a short price, Dan, is the big victory in the Ontario Derby, because he just got a perfect trip up close to a really slow pace that day, and that might not happen here.
The 3 things that are going to work in Mighty Heart's favor are A, he's getting Lasix, which I think he really needs at this point in his career. B, he's getting back to synthetic, where I really think he does his best running. And 3, as we saw in the pace projector, he could be loose on the lead. He actually had a prep race in the Benelli. It didn't work out well, setting fast fractions against better horses. If he's loose in here, he could be long gone.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's always sort of been the key to this horse. He's so much better, in my opinion anyway, when he's able to control the action. That doesn't mean he can't win if somebody goes up there and forces him along, because he can. I would just say if he's loose, they're probably not going to get him. But if somebody pressures him, if Frosted Over goes with him early and makes him run a little bit, he could be a little vulnerable at a short price.
I am a big fan of the 4 Riptide Rock, who ran so well with a tough trip, went second in last year's Queen's Plate, ran well, went second in the favorite in the Breeders on Turf, going 1.5 miles. And it was nice to see that off the layoff, he came back real strong as a 4-year-old. Let's watch his seasonal debut going 7/8 of a mile. Now, this pace wasn't exactly fast. They went 23-3 for the opening quarter. He's in and among horses, had to split him in the stretch, and Riptide Rock is really rolling in the lane. He's better than these horses. I'm a little bit concerned that he might be slightly better going these shorter distances than 2 turns, but I'm guessing 1 mile and a 16th is within his scope.
Yeah, I had the same concerns. I feel like maybe this is about as far as he wants to go, but I do think he can get this far. Obviously, when you look at his Queen's Plate and his breeders, even the Ontario Derby at 9 furlongs, I mean, he ran well that day. Again, that was a super slow pace that he was trying to close into. He does need a little bit of help, Dan, but I think he's got a ton of upside, and I really liked his return race.
Arties Storm was managed really well last year at 3. He's going to get a class quiz off the layoff after facing restricted types in his last 2, including this race, the Steady Growth, going this mile and a 16th distance back on December the 4th. He was able to make a sort of mid-move on the outside into contention and keeps right on rolling along with an 85 buyer. I think he can adapt to any kind of pace scenario, and I don't think he'll be outrun early.
I don't either. The one thing that I did like about him is I do think he's going to get a good trip in this race. Obviously the big question for him is he good enough? This is a pretty strong field he's facing. So, he's got that question to answer. But if you believe that he is, you might get paid for it. He should be a good price in this race.
The number 6 is 77 stone, and the number 6 was 67-1 the last time we saw him. And I'm not sure where this race came from, but here it is anyway. An allowance event at Woodbine on May the 1st. I guess this pace just fell apart because he's coming widest, he's coming fastest, and he pops a 92 buyer speed figure out of nowhere. And let me tell you something, Mike. He runs that 92 back. He's a factor. He'll be a price. I got to see him do it again.
Yeah, me too. It's very true, though. I mean, if he runs this kind of a race back in this spot, he could be right there at the wire, especially, again, if somebody goes with Mighty Heart early, it's only going to help this horse. I'm with you. He's got to do it again against way tougher horses, but he did run well last time.
Before we get to our top selections, let me remind everybody, please click that subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for all the latest DRFTV video offerings. Top pick time for the feature at Woodbine on Sunday. Riptide Rock going to offer a good price, a lot of talent, and it'll be interesting to see how they ride him. I think he's at his best when he makes that one run, so maybe someone will have to go after Mighty Heart.
Yeah, that was my concern too, that it might not set up the right way for him. I'm just going to hope that he can work out some kind of a trip. Again, maybe that 2-horse down towards the inside Frosted Over goes with the favorite and sets this race up just a little bit for Riptide Rock. I think he's still got forward to go.
I think you got to ride Mighty Heart aggressively from the gate, control the race, and let his class take over. I hate to chalk out, but I just think when he's on his game and he gets the right pace scenario, he is way, way the horse to beat. Mike's going Riptide Rock. I'm going Mighty Heart in the Eclipse on Sunday. It's a grade 2 at Woodbine. Best of luck.